Hey everyone, buckle up because we're going deep on this one. Reliance Industries, their second quarter performance for FY25, and let me tell you, it's a wild ride.
It really is. And it's about more than just the raw numbers. We're talking about a company that's deeply intertwined with India's economic engine, so understanding their moves is crucial.
And believe me, they've been making some moves. We've got reports, press releases, even a glimpse into what Reliance told their investors directly. You wouldn't believe some of the insights we've uncovered.
It's true. This is like piecing together a giant puzzle, and the picture it paints is pretty remarkable. We're talking about a company in the midst of a massive transformation.
Okay, so let's dive right in. Reliance's revenue, it went up a little year over year, but their net profit actually dipped. And I know what you're thinking. Dip. Bad, right?
Hmm, not necessarily. It's
Uh-huh.
easy to get caught up in the headlines, but to really get it, we need to zoom in on each part of Reliance's business. That's where things get really interesting.
You got that right. Let's start with the star of the show, their digital services. Specifically, Geo. They're seeing almost an 18% revenue jump, and a lot of that is thanks to 5G adoption and that recent tariff hike.
And here's the thing. This isn't just some isolated win. Reliance is perfectly positioned to ride the global wave of 5G, especially in these booming emerging markets.
So, like, they saw this wave coming and paddled out at just the right time. I like it.
Exactly. But remember, Reliance, they're masters of diversification. So while Geo's celebrating their oil to chemical segment, that's facing some headwinds. Remember those crazy fuel prices last year? Yeah, about that. Things have cooled down, and that means their refining margins are squeezed.
Ouch! It's like going from a heat wave straight into an ice bath. But Reliance is known for adapting, right?
Right, and the reports really highlight this. They're not just sitting there taking it. They're sourcing cheaper feedstock. Think of it like finding a more affordable ingredient without compromising on quality. Plus, they're pushing hard on fuel retailing, selling directly to consumers.
Smart. Diversifying those revenue streams. But speaking of diversification, what about their oil and gas segment? That feels like a whole other animal.
It is, and it actually held up pretty well this quarter. Their KG-D6 block, that big gas production site they've got, saw a nice bump in output. Plus, their coal bed methane production is also increasing.
CBM, that's the one where they're pulling natural gas from coal seams, right?
Oh, got it. And get this, even with gas prices down globally, Reliance still grew their oil and gas EBITDA, that's their profitability, by a healthy 11%.
Okay, clearly this EBITDA thing is a big deal. Can you explain that a bit more? Why does that matter so much?
EBITDA, it's like cutting through all the accounting jargon and getting straight to how much profit a company makes from actually doing business. That 11% growth, really impressive in this market.
Resilience. Now let's bring things a little closer to home. What about Reliance Retail? You know, those stores that are like everywhere you look.
Ah, their retail empire. It's huge, but it's facing its own set of challenges. Consumer spending in India, it's been a bit slow lately, which never good news when you're in the business of selling stuff.
Right, because when times get tough, that new outfit or fancy coffee is the first to go.
Exactly. So, Reliance is fighting back on two fronts. Streamlining their operations, think efficiency, and going all in on digital. I'm talking super fast local deliveries, a seamless online experience, the whole 9 yards.
Meeting the customer wherever they are, online or needing groceries, ASAP, love it.
Exactly. Adapt to survive, right? And when you look at the big picture, especially their financials, their debt management is surprisingly strong.
Wait, hold on. Debt. Isn't everyone a little freaked out about debt these days?
You're right to ask. But Reliance, they haven't just been racking up debt willy-nilly. They've locked in good interest rates, diversified where they're borrowing from. They're in a good spot if the market takes a turn.
They're playing chess while everyone else is playing checkers, always thinking a few steps ahead. And speaking of being ahead, they're pouring money into new energy. Now that's a fascinating story for another day.
Oh, absolutely. But before we jump into that, we've got to talk about Reliance's digital services, specifically Geo and their 5G game. What they're doing is seriously impressive.
All right, we're back, folks, diving deeper into Reliance, and this time it's all about Geo and their 5G game. Now, I'm already imagining super fast downloads and crystal clear video calls, but what's really got everyone talking?
It's not just about speed, it's about what Geo is doing with that speed. They're not just offering 5G, they're building a whole ecosystem around it. Think about it. Innovative services and partnerships that are really pushing the limits.
Okay, you've piqued my curiosity. Spill the beans. What kind of game-changing moves are we talking about here?
Well, take their default, voice over new radio technology, for instance. They've teamed up with some big device manufacturers to make this the standard for their premium 5G users.
Vaudenar. Now, I gotta be honest, that sounds a little techie for me. Break it down for us regular folks.
Sure, basically it means your voice calls are routed over the 5G network instead of the old 4G network. And what does that mean for you? Crystal clear audio, faster call setup times, and even better security.
So it's like upgrading from a tin can telephone to a high-fidelity studio session? Got it. What else is up their sleeve?
Another area where they're really pulling ahead is network slicing. They've implemented a 6-slice network, which I know sounds complicated, but think of it like having dedicated lanes on a highway for different types of vehicles.
Okay, I can visualize that. So no more delivery trucks stuck behind slow-moving tractors.
You gotta, this means they can dedicate specific parts of their bandwidth to different types of data traffic. So whether
Yeah.
you're streaming a movie, making a video call, or playing an online game, you're getting the best possible speed and performance.
Talk about a smooth ride, and I've heard some buzz about this Geo air fiber thing. Is that part of this whole 5G revolution?
It's a key piece of the puzzle. Geo Air Fiber is their fixed wireless service, basically delivering fiber-like internet speeds without any cables.
So no more drilling holes in your walls or dealing with tangled wires? Sign me up. But seriously, how does that even work?
They're using their powerful 5G network to beam data wirelessly to homes and businesses. It's a game changer, especially in areas without much fiber optic infrastructure.
Genius. It's like they're beaming the internet straight into your living room, but it sounds like they're not stopping there. Tell us about Geo AI Cloud.
Now, this is where things get really interesting. It's their cloud storage and AI platform. But here's the kicker. It's designed specifically for India.
So they're not just copying Silicon Valley, they're tailoring it to India's needs.
Precisely. Reliance really understands the Indian consumer. And with Geo AI Cloud, they're making powerful AI accessible to everyone, even if you're not a tech whiz.
Okay, I'm picturing everything from AI-powered photo editing to personalized shopping recommendations. What else can this thing do?
The sky's the limit. Imagine AI-powered health monitoring, educational tools, even agricultural applications that can help farmers boost their yields. And it's all delivered smoothly over Geo's low-latency network.
Wow, talk about putting the power of AI right at your fingertips. This is next level stuff, but Reliance is more than just tech, right? They're a major player in India's retail scene too.
Yeah.
Let's switch gears and talk about how Reliance retail is holding up.
You're right. Their retail presence is massive and always changing. One of the most striking things is their sheer growth. They added a ton of stores this quarter alone, bringing their total to almost 19,000 across India.
19,000 stores, it's like there's a Reliance store on every corner. But seriously, where are they finding all these locations and who are they targeting?
They're strategically moving into what we call Tier 2 and Tier 3 cities, tapping into these huge markets that often get overlooked. And it's not just about quantity either. They're incredibly diverse in what they offer.
Okay, so we're talking everything from groceries to gadgets all under the Reliance umbrella, but with such a vast network, how do they make sure every customer has a good experience?
That's where their focus on technology and innovation really makes a difference. They're not just building stores. They're building a smart, interconnected retail system.
Sounds impressive. Tell me more about how they're using tech to shake things up in retail.
They're using data analytics and even AI to create a truly personalized shopping experience. Think customized recommendations, special offers, and even predicting what you need before you even know you need it.
That's amazing. It's like having a personal shopper whispering in your ear as you browse the aisles.
Exactly. And they're also using technology to streamline their entire supply chain, which means products get from the manufacturer to the customer much faster.
So, fresher produce, faster deliveries, and a more personalized shopping trip. It sounds like they've cracked the code on the future of retail. But let's be real, we can't talk about Reliance without mentioning their oil and gas segment, especially with all the talk about climate change and clean energy.
You're absolutely right. It's a huge part of their business, both now and in the future.
So how did their oil and gas segment do this quarter? And what's their strategy for navigating the changing energy landscape?
Well, their revenue from oil and gas actually went down a bit year over year, which isn't a huge surprise considering how unpredictable global energy markets can be. However, their EBITDA for this segment actually grew by a solid 11%, which tells us they're managing their costs really well.
So even with less revenue, they're making more profit from their operations. That's impressive. What's the secret sauce?
It's a few things. First, their production from the KG-D6 block, that massive gas production site we talked about earlier, has been better than expected. Second, they're seeing a big jump in their coal bed methane production.
CBM, that's where they're pulling natural gas from, coal seams, right? It always seemed like a pretty niche energy source to me.
It used to be, but it's becoming more and more important as countries look for different energy options. Reliance got an early start in CBM production in India, and now they're reaping the rewards of that smart move.
So they're producing more gas and diversifying their sources, but with gas prices fluctuating like crazy, how are they making sure their revenue is stable?
They've been clever about locking in a good ceiling price for the gas they're pulling from the KGD6 block.
Ceiling price, for those of us who don't speak energy market, what does that mean exactly?
Basically, it's a price cap set by the government.
Yeah.
In this case, the government wants to encourage domestic gas production. So they've raised the ceiling price for KGD6. That way, Reliance knows they can keep investing in exploration and production.
So it's a win-win. Reliance gets a guaranteed price, and the government gets more domestic gas, which means they don't have to rely so much on imports. Brilliant.
Exactly. But let's not forget, Reliance is a company in transition. So while they're figuring out the whole traditional oil and gas game, they're also making big moves in the world of new energy.
And that's what's got everyone buzzing, right? This is where things get really exciting. So let's dive into Reliance's big plans for a greener future.
All right, we're back and ready to dive into the world of Reliance and their big push for green energy. It's a bold move, no doubt about it.
It really is. Reliance wants to be a global leader in green energy, and they're putting their money where their mouth is. We're talking billions and billions of dollars in investments in just the next few years.
Billions with a B. Okay, now you've got my attention. But where exactly are they spending all that cash? What's the game plan?
Imagine a fully integrated new energy ecosystem right here in India. That's their vision, and it all comes down to four big things: solar, battery storage, green hydrogen, and fuel cells.
Okay, I'm no energy expert, but it sounds like they're covering all the bases. But let's break it down, shall we? Let's start with solar. What are they doing that's so different from everyone else?
Scale. They're going massive, building a huge, and I mean huge, solar gigafactory over in Gujarat. And we're not just talking about putting together solar panels here. This factory will handle everything, from producing the raw materials for solar cells to churning out those finished panels.
Oh, it's like a one-stop shop for anything solar.
Yeah.
That's impressive.
Yep.
But even with all that solar power, you still need a way to store it, right? The sun doesn't shine 24/7.
You're absolutely right. Reliance knows that to make renewable energy work on a large scale, you need reliable storage. So they're building another gigafactory, and this one's all about cutting-edge battery technologies.
Okay, now we're talking gigawatts and gigafactories. This is some next-level stuff. But what kind of batteries are we even talking about here?
They're investing in lithium-ion batteries, the ones that are everywhere right now. But they're also looking ahead, investing in a newer technology, sodium-ion batteries.
Sodium-ion? Okay, you're going to have to break that down for me. What's the advantage there? Well, sodium is much cheaper and more abundant than lithium, which means these batteries could be way more sustainable and affordable in the long run. It's a bit of a gamble, sure, but Reliance has never been one to shy away from bold bets.
I like their style. They've got the sun, they've got storage. What else is on their green energy checklist?
Green hydrogen, what some are calling the fuel of the future. And Reliance, they see it as a key part of their new energy plan.
Green hydrogen, that's the one made using renewable energy sources, right?
Right.
No fossil fuels involved.
You got it. They're building yet another gigafactory, this time solely dedicated to green hydrogen production using electrolysis, which essentially means they're using renewable energy to split water into hydrogen and oxygen.
Electrolysis, now that takes me back to high school chemistry class. But honestly, I'm a little fuzzy on the details.
It can be a pretty energy-intensive process, but Reliance is all about pushing the boundaries. They're partnering with some of the biggest names in tech and investing heavily in R&D to make it more efficient and cost-effective.
They're not content with just buying tech. They want to invent the future. Now, what are they planning to do with all this green hydrogen?
First, they plan to use it themselves, replacing fossil fuels in their own refineries and plants. But it goes beyond that. They're looking at using it in transportation, think fuel cell vehicles, and even in those big industries like steel and cement production.
Fuel cells, that was the last piece of the puzzle, wasn't it?
Bingo. Fuel cells, they take that hydrogen and turn it into electricity, and the only byproduct is just water vapor. Reliance is investing heavily in developing and manufacturing fuel cells for everything from our cars and trucks to powering plants and even things like portable devices.
It's incredible, really. They're creating a whole ecosystem around hydrogen, from producing it to putting it to work in so many ways. It's ambitious, groundbreaking, almost hard to wrap your head around.
And it's exactly the kind of big thinking we need if we're serious about tackling climate change and creating a sustainable future. But that brings us to the million-dollar question. What do investors think about all this?
Because at the end of the day, all this has to make business sense, right? Are investors buying into Reliance's big green energy dream?
It's a mixed bag, really.
Yeah.
There's a lot of optimism, but it comes with a healthy dose of caution. You see, Reliance has this reputation for disrupting industries and consistently delivering. Investors, they trust their ability to get things done.
They've definitely earned that trust. But new energy, this is still pretty new territory. It comes with its own risks.
That's for sure. These new technologies, they're still evolving. There are no guarantees of success. Plus, the competition is fierce, with everyone from those massive, well-established energy companies to those small, scrappy startups all vying for the same slice of the pie.
It's a high-stakes game, and Reliance is clearly in it to win it. But what are investors most worried about?
Execution risk is a big one. Building these massive gigafactories and scaling production, it's a huge, complicated task. There can be delays, cost overruns, unexpected technological roadblocks, you name it.
And then there's always the ever-changing world of regulations. Governments can make or break an entire industry with a single policy change.
That's very true. And we can't forget the whole time horizon issue. These new energy projects, they require a lot of money up front, and it could be quite a while before they see any substantial returns.
So investors need to be patient. No get-rich-quick schemes here.
Exactly. It's a long game, and it has risks, for sure. But for those who believe in what Reliance is doing, who are willing to weather the ups and downs, the potential rewards could be huge.
High risk, high reward. Seems like that's the motto in the world of new energy.
It often is. But one thing's for sure. Reliance is changing the game, pushing the entire industry forward. Succeed or fail, their journey will be one for the history books.
Well said. And that, everyone, brings us to the end of our deep dive into the endlessly fascinating world of Reliance Industries.
We've looked at their wins, their challenges, their ambitious plans for the future.
It's a story of innovation, adaptation, a drive to shape the future, not just for one company, but for all of India.
As we see this transformation unfold, one thing's clear. Reliance is a force to be reckoned with.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Until next time, keep those thinking caps on, stay curious, and thanks for joining us on The Deep Dive.